Morning. Okay. Tommy, if you can tell them to join in, like maybe Solu or somebody to join in, so that like our people, so that I can test with them before I open it to everybody else.
Okay, so let me type on the group.
Okay, that's right. Dolapo can join in. Dolapo can join in, so that I can test with her before, because some people are waiting, so I'm going to admit them now.
Oh no, but don't you send me
11, yeah.
I know, but you can take it the MC, then maybe the moderator.
Yeah, the MC is not. Sorry, the MC is not yet here.
Okay.
It's Efeturi and some other guests. So Efeturi, the lady that's one of the panelists, I believe.
Oh.
Is that Dolapo or somebody join so that we can test with them? Okay.
From Nigerian women practicing public relations across different countries. And the theme for today's event is experiencing PR, demystifying the practice of public relations. Now, in addition to the launch of the ebook, we have an interesting lineup of activities, including the keynote speech on transition for greater impact as a PR professional. And we also have a panel discussion which would address the impact of public relations on business and the society. Please get ready to learn, to gain insights and strategies for personal and business success in 2021. Without further ado, I would like to bring up the founder of Nigerian Women in Public Relations and the host, convener of today's event, Tolu Olorundero, for the welcome address. Tolu, are you there, please?
Hi, Kemi. Yes, I am. Good morning, everyone.
Over to you.
Yes. I'm just going to put on my video in a bit. Okay. Okay. I can't see myself for some reason. Good morning, everyone. And hello, if you're joining us from anywhere across the world, thank you so much for coming on this journey of experiencing public relations with us. My name is Tolu Olorundero. I'm a public relations consultant. And in 2019, we started this journey to educate the public on the impact and importance of public relations. And we wanted as many people to come along on this journey with us as possible. We also thought that it was important for us to begin to democratize access to opportunities for women in public relations. And that is why we've carried on in our programs and initiatives for the past 2 years. But for experiencing public relations, I want to say thank you to our amazing contributors who immediately we reached out to them to provide support and writing their essays for the book. They immediately accepted. So that told us that the idea that we had to put this project together was indeed a valid one. I also want to say a special thank you to our guest, our keynote speaker, Motola Oyebanjo. I've been watching her from afar for at least 8 or 9 years, almost stalking her on LinkedIn. And now that I have an opportunity to work with her and to have her do this for us, I think that it's a very amazing thing that you accepted immediately. I asked Motola. I'm very appreciative and I said thank you. I also want to say thank you to our panelists, Mr. Laide Agboola of Purple, Adetayo Bamiduro of Max.ng, Martha Okpeke of Media Craft Associates, and Efeturi Doghudje of VFG PLC. Thank you all so much. I really, really appreciate that you've done this with us. And of course, to our moderator, Chinese Amanfo. I mean, these are my very big madams in the industry. Thank you all so much for the amazing support you've given us over the years. And then to Kemi Olaoye, my backbone. Every time I'm asking her for something, she's saying yes. Of course, Tolu, I'll help you. I want to say a very big thank you for that. Of course, to our media partners who have helped us to spread this word about experiencing public relations as far and wide as they've done. TV communications, the cable, City FM, Avalon Daily, the PR Hub, Nigerian Tribune, Media Metrics, who are amazing in handling our designs, The Nation, and particularly African Media Agency. They have been the one to spread the word about this event to other African countries. And I want to say a special thank you to everyone. This morning, we have designed this event to be an experience. Of course, we expect that we'll make some mistakes along the way, but we trust that in the preparation and in the planning and the delivery of this event, every public relations professional who is on this call will take some notes and some lessons as to how they can replicate what we've done so far in the launch of this book. I also want to make it a special note to mention that Nigerian Women in Public Relations is an independent social impact organization. We're a very strong proponent of everybody who is practicing public relations in Nigeria to be a member of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, which is the governing body for public relations practice in Nigeria. And all we are set up to do really is to encourage more women to speak up about the work that they are doing, to get more opportunities to get to senior positions in their practice, and of course for all of us to be fulfilled in the work that we do as public relations professionals. Thank you so much for coming along with us on this ride. Please enjoy yourself. Thank you, Kemi.
Thank you very much, Tolu, for that welcome address. Thank you. It was quite insightful. And thank you for sharing with us what the Nigerian Women in Public Relations is about. I'm sure that quite a number of people here today would really be would love to know that. And thank you for sharing once again. Now, if you follow the activities of the Nigerian Women in PR, you'll be very familiar with the Student Ambassadorship Program, which is an initiative that is designed to identify and engage outstanding female undergraduates in tertiary institutions across Nigeria who aspire to become PR professionals. Now, to help us with the next item on the agenda this morning is Tony Oluwasonya, one of the 5 student ambassadors of the Nigerian Women in PR from the University of Lagos. Now, let me read her profile. Tony Oluwasonya is a 300 level mass communication student at the University of Lagos. She is a creative, a writer, and has garnered some experience in the world of media and communications. As an avid learner, she applies herself to several learning endeavors to be constantly better in her career field. In her own words, she says, "What better time is there to amass knowledge and experience than when I'm young and free?" Oluwatoni joined the Student Ambassadors Program of the Nigerian Women in Public Relations because she desires to explore the public relations industry and its many intricacies. She sees the organization as one with values which will provide a fertile ground to grow, learn, thrive, and flourish. She's currently one of the 5 student ambassadors from the University of Lagos for the 2021-2022 tenure. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Oluwatoni as she takes the excerpt reading. Oluwatoni, are you on this call, please? Do we have Oluwatoni here?
Yes, ma'am. Good
All
morning.
right, then. Thank you very much. Please go ahead with the excerpt reading.
Okay. Can everyone hear me clearly, please?
Yes, please, we can hear you. The only thing we cannot see is we cannot see. Your video is not turned on, rather.
Oh, okay.
But we can see you.
Okay, can everyone see me now?
Yes, we can see you now. Well,
So,
I mean, that just went.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
So
Don't worry
I'll
about
be
it.
reading The PR Professional, What is Her Role by Victoria Wandoka. Whether she represents an individual or an organization, the PR professional builds trust and a strong reputation for her clients, organization, or brand. This is the currency she brings. She is the face and spokesperson of the organization, representing the brand on and off duty. And no, there are no downtimes. Whatever she says or does will reflect on the brand she represents. Still sure you want to do this? The PR professional is a trusted advisor. She works with decision makers, helping them understand the message, the right medium for transmitting this message to their audiences, and the potential impact of the message. Part of our job is to articulate and amplify the personality of the brand to its various audiences, internal and external. This skill helps the professional fulfill the strategic responsibility of public relations as a management function. She has the courage to challenge management decisions as the icon and guardian of the brand reputation. If PR does not have access or is not operating in a strategic management position, it remains just a process of public relations rather than a strategy. It is important to make this distinction to help the brand you represent understand the value of PR as a strategy and not just a set of tactics. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much, Oluwatoyin. That was brilliant. Very, very. Now, one of the interesting items on the agenda this morning, one I'm particularly looking forward to, is the keynote address. Our keynote speaker is none other than the notable Motola Oyebanjo. Now, let me very quickly read her profile. Now, Motola Oyebanjo is currently the head corporate affairs and communications, Africa and Middle East at Upfield Foods, the largest plant-based foods company in the world. An astute communications professional, she is the image maker for the organization across Africa and the Middle East, responsible for developing and delivering the corporate affairs, communications, and sustainability strategies of the organization. Prior to this, she served as head corporate communications at Lafarge Africa, head of strategic communications and media at Union Bank of Nigeria, client service director for Aerial View Communications, head of corporate communications for the British Council, and internal communications manager for Unilever Nigeria. Motola has extensive experience across corporate affairs and communications, marketing, brand management, digital communications, executive communications, thought leadership, PR, media relations, and crisis management. She is an avid writer with articles published. In 2018, Motola founded the Women Empowerment Initiative known as When Women Win, which aims to support women on the African continent to become the best version of themselves by providing affordable access to the knowledge, inspiration, and opportunities that upwardly mobile women need to succeed. Ladies and gentlemen, I am so excited to welcome our keynote speaker for today's event, Motola Oyebanjo. Motola Oyebanjo, please, are you on the call?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me? Can you see me?
Yes, please. We can hear you. I'm not sure that I can see you.
Okay, my video is on, so give me a second.
I think it's sort of black. I think your video is turned on, but we can just see like a black screen. Am I right? Can we drop comments in the chat box so that we're all sure that? But for me here,
it's black.
Yes, it's just black. It's just black. It's just black.
Wow. Now, still black? Okay. Kemi, I can't hear you. You're on mute.
Okay, I was saying that you should please go ahead with your speech since we can hear you, and hopefully during the course of your speech, your screen somehow comes back up.
Okay. Can you see my screen though?
Yes, I can see your screen. I can see your presentation and your slides.
Okay. Okay, so saying hello to everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. And first, thank you to Tolu Lope and the team for putting this together. I will say greetings from Dubai, which is where I currently am, doing some work for the organization. But it's always exciting to be with ladies and gentlemen in the public relations space. Always very excited. And I just want to put this on slideshow. Yes. Can you see it as a slideshow now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. Thank you for inviting me to be part of this event. And I just want to commend the Nigerian Women in Public Relations for the work that they're doing. I saw when the project started, and I've seen the steps that have been taken since then. And I just want to say well done for promoting public relations in Nigeria, and also for supporting the work that the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations is doing in terms of making sure that there is visibility for public relations professionals and the industry at large. So I'm here to speak about experiencing PR, transition for greater impact. And I think what I would like to start with is just to show you a little bit about my journey as a PR professional. Now, I started off my journey at Lakesworth Investments. As a woman, you know how it is. You've just finished school. You're so excited about going off to NYSC. You're now an independent. You're excited about what's about to happen next. So I started off as a marketing officer at an investment company, Lakesworth. I moved on to a travels company because I really wanted to travel around the world. But when I discovered that a lot of the work that I was doing was more around issuing tickets, I told myself, okay, clearly you need to do something else. Moving on from there, I joined Unilever. Unilever was interesting, the journey to Unilever. I remember going to submit my application all decked up in my borrowed jacket from my sister. And I got to the gate and I spoke to it was a company that was helping them with that part of the process. It wasn't Unilever itself, to be fair to them. And I got to the gate and I was like, oh, I'm here to submit my application, as a management trainee at Unilever. And the security guard was like, okay, put your envelope down over there. And I was like, where? I saw a pile of envelopes at the gate. I was like, just put it there. And I'm like, oh my goodness. After decking up, as we say in Nigeria, I'm here having to put my envelope down here. So in my mind, I was like, okay, this is not going to happen. I'll move on. But later on, we were invited, and after about 4 steps along the way, 4 levels, 10 of us were selected, and we were told later that there were about 11,000 applications for that role. So I understand the challenge of having to walk and take your time to get into the roles that you want. Sometimes that does happen, but you keep going. At Unilever, I became a wife, and that was an interesting experience in itself. I thought it was important to highlight some of this because I'm speaking to women, and I recognize, all of the steps that we go through in our journeys as professionals. I moved to the British Council as communications manager, and after a few months, I became the head of corporate communications. I did that for 3 years, and then I resigned to become a consultant at Aerial View Marketing Communications, which is an advertising firm run by my husband, and I joined him on that for about 6 years. I became a mom in that space, and some of those interesting processes of trying to run around and get to work early and try to figure out how to get things done with a big stomach, and you're so exhausted at work and yet you still need to deliver, all of that. That happened at the British Council before I moved to Aerial View. After a few years, I was invited by Union Bank to head strategic communications and media, as Union Bank was about to celebrate its 100th anniversary, and they needed someone to drive that conversation. So it was such a pleasure to do that for the Union Bank. And then on to Lafarge as head of corporate communications. And at the moment, I joined Upfield, which is, as noted, the largest plant-based foods company in the world at the moment, as head of corporate affairs and communications for Africa. And this year I kicked off Middle East was added onto my portfolio. But you see, this year as well, we got to hear about Dr. Ngozi's position as the new head of the WTO. So for me, and I'm sure for every woman and every man on this call, it's upwards. And as is very relevant in Nigeria now, we say we move. There's so much more to be done. And we're going to aim to get it done. We're going to aim to keep building our impact. So let me ask you this. I don't know if, and please feel free to type into the chat box, if you've had any of these questions. As a professional, what do you really do, you know, as a PR professional? If you have, please just type into the box if they've asked you some of these questions. You PR guys are just having fun, you know. Do you do any real work? I've had people ask me those interesting questions. Are you busy in your department at all? You guys look like you're just enjoying yourself all the time. Or your team is a cost center. You spend money that we work hard to bring in. I don't know if anyone has said any of those things to you. Or how do you impact the bottom line of the business positively? Can you add sales targets to your to your targets for the year? You know, those are some of the questions that people keep asking. And I find it always interesting when I see those questions. So let's go straight into what it is that we actually really do, yeah? So public relations is, just as a definition, public relations is the practice of deliberately managing the release and spread of information between an organization or an individual and the public in order to affect public perception. It is a strategic communications process that builds mutually beneficial relationships between the organization and their publics. It's considered a subset of corporate communications, and PR professionals, quite honestly, are now required to be more fully rounded corporate communications professionals. And that speaks to the fact that we need to evolve in the things that we do and what we are doing. And I will speak more to that shortly. So in terms of, and like I said, we need to evolve. So I am going to share a bit of what I do and what the corporate communications components are and the different aspects of what a corporate communications professional is required to deliver on. So first off is media relations, which is the most popular one that we're all aware of, which is engaging with the media, making sure that we deliver on that relationship, making sure that it's a positive relationship and we're able to get across the communication messages that the organization or our clients want. And leading on to that is the storytelling and driving of conversations and telling those stories in ways that are strong and compelling. And then there's the bit about internal communications and employee engagement, because as Victoria noted in the excerpt that was read earlier, audience is both internal and external. So there's a lot of internal communications and employee engagement that we're required to do as corporate communications professionals. And then there is the bit of government relations and regulator relations, making sure that the government is happy with the business. We don't flout any rules. We're able to get them aligned with what we're trying to do as a company, et cetera, et cetera. And then financial communications, investor relations for organizations that are public companies. A lot of investor relations goes into that. A lot of working with the Nigerian Stock Exchange, making sure that the share prices, just having all of those conversations, working closely with the finance and the strategy teams. Then there is community relations. I have worked in organizations where you don't get this right and the company can get literally shut down. So working closely with the community and making sure that, it's a mutually beneficial relationship, that's a key part of what corporate affairs or corporate communication, the PR professionals are required to do. Sustainability has become something that has grown into our role as well. And being able to show that the business is a responsible organization in terms of how it sources its production elements, how it cares for its employees, how it cares for the community, making sure that the company delivers on its sustainability promises has become a key part of what we do now. corporate social responsibility, of course, giving back to the community, and then crisis communication and management, which public relations officers and professionals know quite a lot about. And you see, when we're talking about impact, one of the things that I always ask myself is, what would happen if we didn't do our work? What would happen if we didn't do our work well? First off is that the company can lose its reputation. And honestly, you can replace this can with may or will, because it has happened in many instances. The company can actually lose its reputation. And the organization can lose its brand equity. All of that good work that has been done in the past, if it's not properly managed, we can lose that. An organization that thought it was well ahead, and many organizations have found themselves in this situation, can find themselves stepped back in their journey simply because this work of public relations was not done effectively. The brand stories are also not told properly if we don't do our work well. There is so much, and I think this for me is one of the most exciting parts of the work that I do as a public relations professional or a corporate comms professional. I enjoy telling stories. I always have. I remember when I joined Unilever, I joined Unilever as a HR management trainee in human resources. And later I was moved into internal communications. And when I asked, why did you move me into this role? I didn't even know what communications was. And it was interesting. It was because during one of the HR activities that we had done, we actually had a conference where colleagues from all over Africa came into Nigeria for an HR training. And at the end of that training, I sent a note out to everyone just mentioning something special about each of them in the email. I got into trouble for it because the HR director was like, okay, you shouldn't use corporate email for this, you should have used your personal email. However, they did take note of the fact that I could tell those stories well. And based on that, moved me into internal communications. And it's an interesting way to start your journey. But that's how I started my journey in PR and corporate communications. So telling the brand stories well is so important. The organization can actually lose business opportunities. I've worked with an organization where, because of the PR work that we did and because of the negotiations and conversations with governments and stakeholders, we were able to ensure that the business concern continued in a particular country. If we weren't able to do it well, they would have had to shut down that business. So that's how important the work that we do is. The organization can lose share value and price. Again, that's speaking to investors, and it can lose the trust of stakeholders, whether it's consumers or governments or shareholders. And that's so important because without trust, people move on. There are options to go to, and they will move on to those ones. The organization can get exposed to heavy fines, levies, imprisonment of executives, especially in this time now of corporate governance. If you don't do it effectively, if you find yourself in a situation where you don't manage situations properly, executives can actually be imprisoned. There can be heavy fines on the business. And ultimately, the organization can actually be shut down temporarily or permanently. So we are reputation builders. We are reputation managers for the organization. We are the image makers of the organizations we work for or the clients that we serve. We are gatekeepers. Gatekeepers because there are times when colleagues will be like, oh, I want to do this because there are great business returns, but you're there to tell them this won't work because if you go ahead with it, you will put the business in trouble at the end of the day, long term. We are storytellers. We are relationship builders. So what we do is really important, and we need to make sure that we do it well, we do it effectively, and we continue to build the industry in such a way that organizations become their very best. And in terms of that transition, which I've been asked to speak on for greater impact, I picked it on 2 points. The first is what the PR industry should do, and the other will be what the individual should do. So for the PR industry, here are my thoughts. First, we need to evolve. If there's anything that I have said, as public relations professionals, we need to move a bit more into corporate communications. I'm not saying we should change the name, no, it's a subset of it, I understand that. But what I'm saying is we need to expand our scope in the way we think, in the way we develop strategy, in the way we present strategy. We need to move with the organizations we serve. If you look around most organizations now, you will see head of corporate communications, you will see maybe head of media, you hardly see head of PR. And that means that, you know, organizations are thinking bigger, they've expanded this. Two is being business focused. I mean, creativity is great, but it must add value to the business. And I've received so many proposals from PR professionals, which is really just about, oh, how we're going to tell a great brand story, but it doesn't look at my business and say, how will it add value to it? So as PR professionals, we need to be more business focused. We need to be more knowledgeable, not just about public relations, but about the organization's business. We don't live in a bubble. We're here to serve organizations, governments, whatever it is. So we must be knowledgeable about the organization's business. I've seen people send in proposals where clearly they didn't even go to the website to see what the organization is about. So we need to grow our knowledge base in terms of the organizations that we serve, in terms of the economy within which we serve, so that we're able to deliver more value. And while I said creativity is not everything, we also need to improve on our creativity. PR should not be boring, whether in terms of the content that we're developing or even in the way that we use media. PR should not be boring. It should be interesting. It should be exciting. It should make me look up and smile and nod my head and say, oh, that's a good copy. That's a good write-up. You know, that's a good use of an influencer. So we need to improve on our creativity and then also build the reputation of the industry. And I'm happy with the work that the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations and organizations like Nigerian Women in PR have also just started in terms of building the reputation of the industry, because we need so much more of that. And beyond that, we also need to build our personal reputations as PR professionals. I think people should feel confident that an organization is in good hands when they look at who is in charge of their public relations. And I think that that's one of the things that I have been really honored to enjoy. Because, and I'll give you a simple example. When I moved to Upfield, nobody knew Upfield in Nigeria, especially. But I think just the fact that they said, oh, Motola is moving to Upfield, there was quite a lot of interest in knowing what is Upfield, who is Upfield, what are they doing, what are they about? And I saw that continuously grow on LinkedIn. So if we're able to build our reputations as people who do good work, then it also helps our organizations. And then again, taking it from there, strategic relationships, whether within our organizations or outside, government, etc. And again, I commend NIPR because I see quite a lot of the work that they're doing in that direction. That's important for us. And ultimately, it's about impact and results. Impact on the country, impact on the economy, impact on the organizations. And we should be able to measure our results and showcase our results. It's not just about, oh, I'm doing good work. You need to let people know that you're doing good work. And I know that there are parts of our work that you can't measure clearly, but there are also parts that you can, and you need to keep showcasing, we all need to keep showcasing the results that we're delivering for our organizations and for our businesses. And in terms of the PR professional, I would just share with you from my personal experience, learn more, do more, be more is something that I try to use in the work that I do in my life, really as an individual. And it has helped me. I hope it will help you too. On the learn more, it's about reading. And reading is beyond just what's happening on social media. Reading is discovering what's going on out there, what's new, what can I learn, what's interesting. And study is also beyond reading. It's about what's required for my professional career. What do I need to go back to study? What do I need to go back to learn? What special new things do I need to learn? What do I need to go back to school for? And it fits into unlearn and relearn, which is about life is constantly changing. The organizations that we're working with are constantly changing. The industry is changing, and we need to constantly unlearn and relearn at every level, discovering what are the trends. What are the trends that we need to know? What are the new trends that are happening around us, and constantly staying up to date. Travel if you can. For me, travel has always been a great opportunity to learn. And it's something that I encourage anyone to do, whether you're within the country or outside the country. Step into a new location, step away from where you go to every day. Sometimes I just go into a shop. In fact, my husband always accuses me that I'm the worst person to shop with, because I will window shop so much. Or I'll just go in and look around and just let my senses be motivated or inspired by something new. I might not buy a single thing, but I'm just discovering new things every day, and that's so important. Travel and then listen. I think that in my career, I've learned more by just listening to people in the organizations that I've worked with than I have in reading up any documents, because you pick up cues that you need as a PR professional, as a communications professional. You pick up things about the organization that you would not know if you were not listening. So listen more, and you'll be amazed at what you learn. Then do more. Strategy first. If you don't start with strategy, a lot of things get lost along the way. I'm someone who plans my year, I plan my week, I plan my day. And at the beginning of each week, when I look at the plan, I'm asking myself, what value will I have delivered for my organization this week? What value have I delivered for my organization this month? Because I see myself as a consultant to any organization I go into. I don't see myself as a staff. Many times people get bogged down by that and begin to get into all sorts of politics. But I see myself as a consultant. I'm going in there to serve the company. And then I keep asking myself, what value have I delivered each month? What value have I delivered? What can I speak? What can I add onto my CV this month to say, this is what I've delivered for this organization? Work smart and hard. I've had the talk about working smart and not hard. I believe in doing both. And that's simply because you need to do the work. You need to do the work. I don't believe in skirting corners, and you need to do the work. I have an interesting joke. So my daughter was saying one day in the house about how, oh, daddy loves to do this. He loves fashion. He loves, all of that, perfumes, etc. I'm like, oh, what do you like? She said, oh, me, I like to dress up. And then I also like to read books and everything. I said, okay, what about me? He said, mommy, you like to walk. And I thought, oh my goodness, okay, I need to do something about work-life balance. But I mean, I believe in working hard, because that will help you get the results you want. Build networks. I have people all the way from the British Council, all the way from Unilever, that if I call today, they'll be happy to answer me and help me with what I need. So build strong networks, try new things. Like I said earlier, be flexible. Things are constantly changing. Show your results. It's not enough to do the work. You need to let people know that you're doing the work, and get feedback. That's important. On the third level is being more. Be authentic. Don't be anything other than who you are. I have an interesting story about that. I remember joining Union Bank, and a few months down the line, a gentleman I didn't know said, oh, there's something interesting about you. Even though you're in the corporate world, you still have a way of showing that you're African in what you wear, etc. And for me, that was important, because when I first joined Union Bank, it was a struggle to go into suits and ties, well, not ties, suits, etc. Because I love to dress African, but I figured out a way to still, stay authentic to who I am. And that's just in dressing, but even beyond dressing, it's also about who you are as a person. Be authentic. In being authentic, you will find your own path. Be a leader, whether you're a member of a team or you're the team lead or whatever. Be a leader wherever you find yourself. Be ethical. People should be able to trust you as a PR professional. Integrity as a PR professional. People should be able to know that, okay, if this person is in charge of it, we're okay. Be courageous. It takes a lot to be able to say no when others are saying yes, And that's required a lot for corporate communications and PR professionals, because it's part of the job description, quite honestly. You need to be able to speak the truth to leadership. So be courageous in your journey. For me, spirituality has been so key. And I know that's different for everyone. But for me, spirituality and my walk with God has been really important on my journey. And I'm grateful for the path that I have taken. And finally, enjoy life. Spend time with your family, rest, play, and have a great hobby that you enjoy. And that's simply because, look, what you bring to the table is a combination of all of the things that you are. And if your life is so one track and all about work, then you don't have that creativity and ingenuity that you can bring to the table. So learn more, be more, do more. And just on a final note, I just want to leave you with this, two of my favorite PR quotes. First is by Daniel J. Burstein, the American social historian and educator. He said, "Some are born great, some achieve greatness, and some hire public relations officers." So, I mean, that just tells you how important the work you do is. You're there to create great brands. You're there to create, to build the image of people, of organizations. And please take the work you do really seriously. We're special, we're important to the organization, we're important to the country. And if we could do more for the country, I believe that even Nigeria would be much better for it. And of course, the other one is by Bill Gates, founder of Microsoft, who said, "If I only had $2 left, I would spend $1 on PR." How about that? So again, it celebrates you for the work that you do, for the impact and the value that you bring to organizations. And I just want to continue to encourage you to be your very best, to make the industry proud, to stand up tall and do your work with courage. And I'm confident that as we continue to do the very best that we can, we will transition the public relations industry to greater impact. So thank you so much. Thank you to Tolu again for the invitation. And I wish everyone the best.
Thank you very much for that keynote speech. What a profound presentation. I really enjoyed it. I learned quite a lot. You mentioned that PR professionals are gatekeepers, storytellers, and relationship builders. You also mentioned that we need to focus on measurable results. While we understand that there are certain aspects of PR that we may not be able to measure, we should also definitely pay attention to areas that we can measure and ensure that we do just that. I love your philosophy on, learn more, do more, be more. I'd like to hear from everyone who is currently here on this call. What stood out for you during Mrs. Oyebanjo's keynote address? Please drop it in the chat box. Don't forget to share. You can take a screenshot of this event and share on your social media pages. Please tag Nigerian Women in PR. The Nigerian Women in PR representative will drop the social media handles in the chat box. Please take a screenshot, post, and use the hashtag experiencing PR, hashtag experiencing PR. During the keynote address, she mentioned how that, PR professionals do not really put themselves out there. And I strongly believe that this event is one of the ways that we can achieve that by sharing on your social media handles. More people that are not even PR professionals would see and would know that something is going on today. If you have questions, please also drop your questions in the chat box. We are now moving to the panel discussion. Now, when the Nigerian Women in PR team made the decision to put together an event like this for the launch of the ebook, they were saddled with the responsibility of finding the right panelists and moderators. And with the lineup of speakers and moderator that we have today, I must say that they did just that. It is also important to mention that our incredible panelists accepted the Nigerian Women in PR's invitation immediately without hesitation. I would love to celebrate that for them. Thank you so much to our panelists and moderator for believing in the vision of the Nigerian Women in PR and accepting our invitation without even hesitating. Thank you for believing in this event and the vision of the Experiencing PR ebook. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We also have an interesting and balanced mix of panelists. We have business owners, we have 2 business owners, and we have 2 PR professionals. Our goal really with this session is to have a balanced discussion. So, I mean, I was speaking to Tolu and she was telling me that, you know, when the Nigerian Women in PR were putting this event together, they thought to themselves, we don't want to just bring PR professionals to say, oh, we do this, we do this. They would also like to bring business owners to share the impact of PR on their business. So, like I said earlier, the goal of this panel session is to have a balanced discussion while addressing the impact of PR on businesses and the society. Please let me introduce our panelists and our moderator. Our first panelist is Martha Okpeke. She is a PR practitioner with over 13 years of continuous experience, or continuous practice rather, in the industry. She comes with a robust knowledge in media planning and strategy, corporate communications and reputation management, crisis management, stakeholders engagement rather, business strategy, brand, and product marketing. She is currently an associate director with Media Craft Associates, one of the foremost PR consulting firms in Nigeria. Thank you so much for joining us, Martha Okpeke.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. Now, our second panelist for today is Laide Agboola. Laide Agboola is a transformational Nigerian entrepreneur and finance executive who has driven impact across multiple corporations and in various roles, from corporate finance to asset management, investment banking, real estate, and now lifestyle development. He is the co-founder and CEO of Purple Group, with a portfolio that includes Purple Maryland, formerly Maryland Mall, I'm sure that we all know, Purple Lekki, and other residential developments, as well as lifestyle brands and products. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation to be here today, Laide Agboola.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Kemi.
All right, then I'm not sure that we can hear you clearly. Okay, I think I can now. Yes, I can. Thank you very much. Our third panelist is the co-founder and the CEO of Max.ng. Adetayo Bamiduro is the co-founder and CEO of Max.ng, a pioneering mobility company focused on sub-Saharan Africa. Max.ng is building mobility, financial services, and EV infrastructure for Africa's $100 billion transportation industry. Previously, he worked as a software engineer and management consultant at PwC, Delberg, and Shell-operated natural gas company in Nigeria. Thank you very much for joining us today, Adetayo Bamiduro. It's such a pleasure to have you. Do we have Adetayo Bamiduro on this call, please?
Yes. Thank you very much. Very excited to be here.
All right, then. Thank you. And our fourth and final panelist for today is Efeturi Doghudje. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Efeturi is currently serving as the head marketing and corporate communications of VFD Group PLC. She has over 14 years professional experience in marketing and corporate communications. She is currently a member of CIPR, IABC, and APCON. Thank you very much for joining us today, Efeturi.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. And now our moderator, whom I'm going to be handing over to in just a minute, Chineze Amanfo, is a talented PR professional and media strategist with over 16 years of experience, helping organizations communicate more effectively and efficiently. Her background in agency brings a well-rounded perspective to our work with diverse clients. She's currently the in-house PR lead at Nigeria's most innovative telecommunications company, Nine Mobile. Thank you very much for joining us today, Chineze Amanfo. And at this point, I would like to hand over to you and to take over the panel discussion.
Thank you so much, Kemi, and thanks everyone. Thank you to our audience. Okay, Motola started her keynote. Great job, Motola. It was a very resounding keynote. So she started off her keynote with a great definition of public relations. So I'll kick off this session with 2 more definitions of public relations, which clearly shows its importance in society and business. I'll go with the Mexican statement, which identifies public relations as an art and a social science of analyzing trends, and predicting their consequences. And of course, helping to implement programs of actions that will serve organizations and their publics. What does the Chartered Institute of Public Relations UK say? They stated that public relations is a deliberate, planned and sustained effort to establish and maintain mutual understanding between an organization and its publics. With those definitions in mind, we're here now to talk about our views on the impact of public relations in business and society. And we're going to be sharing real life experiences. Our panelists are going to be sharing real life experiences to help our audience understand how to incorporate public relations in their businesses, in their clients' businesses, and in the society at large. And we have to bear in mind that society is just a bigger organization that has management structures and stakeholder groups. So what then is the impact of public relations in society and business? I'd like to kick off or start off with Efeturi to help us set the stage, and then I'll pivot over to Martha to give us some context on the same question. Over to you, Efeturi.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for the introduction, and thank you to Nigerian Women in PR for this fantastic opportunity. Again, now is even a good time to talk women in PR, especially since it's the month of women. It's International Women's Day coming in a bit. So just to focus on what you had asked in terms of the impact of PR on a business, I think the impact is quite astronomical, just depending on what the business's goals and objectives are. Some of the time, and even from Modupe's presentation, most people feel that marketing and corporate communications is just a spendthrift or a cost center for the organization. But some of the elements that we imbibe or we try to depict in our roles definitely help the organization to move to the next level. So what am I literally talking about? What is that PR? PR is one of the things that creates the image for the organization. PR helps to mold and define perception for the organization. So some of these things, while they sound fluffy to executive management, and sometimes executive management are the ones that push for this perception, this reputational management, and the growth of the organization, we as PR professionals definitely need to put our foot down to be able to drive and to be able to believe that with public relations, the changes that we want to see in a particular organization can come to fore. So for me, I put all those elements together when I'm thinking about public relations and the various fields under it, which include your media relations, your government relations, internal communications to understanding your staff. And like I said, I put everything together to be able to define and to be able to drive the organization's goals and aspirations, especially as it relates to perception, reputation, and then building a suitable image for the organization. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Efeturi. I particularly liked the part where you said we should put our foot down to ensure that we use public relations to get the changes we desire in the society. Thank you so much. So I'll quickly run to Martha with the same question. What is the impact of public relations in business and in society?
All right, thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you to Nigerian Women in PR for putting this together. It's high time we're discussing this, especially from the women's table, from a table with women. Okay, so the impact of PR on businesses and the society cannot be overemphasized. PR is that continuous. So I would not begin to define PR. We have defined PR in several ways. What that tells us, what this has told us is that PR is that deliberate effort that we have used, that businesses use to build trust, enhance their reputation. And if businesses are able to build trust with their consumers, they're able to affect the bottom line because it brings businesses to them. And what PR does is that beyond what, so I don't want to compare PR with advertising or other forms of marketing communication. But what PR does is that PR gives you feedback. So you understand, like the Mexican definition of PR, say it analyzes trends. Is that science and art, social science, the art and social science of analyzing trends? It helps you to analyze trends, analyze the consumer's behavior, so that you know how to package, how to put your messages together, how to send, what channels you're going to meet this, you define your target audience, how to put the messages that will fit this target audience together, and the channels that you're going to use to meet this target audience. And at the end of the day, you're able to effect sales. Of course, PR is not an overnight, does not give overnight success. So you see, PR takes time. So I'm sure it is because the effect of PR sometimes are not measurable, and sometimes it takes time. That is why you hear questions like what Motola said, that you hear people say, do you people make money? Do you bring money to the table at all? What do you people really do? Yes, it is difficult to measure some of the results of PR, but PR affects businesses in such a way that they keep their consumers, they understand the consumers, they're able to translate the business objectives, the business vision to the consumer, translate it to the consumer so that the consumers buy into the product of the businesses, patronize them, and eventually become advocates for even these businesses. And in the society, PR has been able to help people, the citizenry, to be able to manage their opinion, shape their mind, shape their opinion in such a way that they form strong beliefs about issues, causes that government wants to push, so that they are not easily swayed by just any opinion. And this is the effort of PR. So when PR is effectively delivered, it helps the bottom line of businesses, it helps government and businesses to deliver their set objectives and to and achieve their goals.
Okay, thank you, Martha. So in summary, right messaging, target audience, and all the works will ensure that PR is impactful in business and in society. I'm sure, I hope we're not wondering why I chose the ladies first. It's deliberate. I know it's ladies after, or is it ladies before the men or ladies after the men? It was deliberate. And fortunately, the moderator is a lady as well. So I'm going to move over to the gentlemen. I'll start with Laide Agboola. How do you think public relations impacts on business and society?
I think, first of all, I should thank Nigerian Women in PR for giving me the opportunity and the platform to be able to speak with what I call a strong network of women in a month like this where women ought to be celebrated and appreciated. I've grown up all around women, so it's an interesting thing for me. So it wasn't a difficult decision for me to sign up and say I'll be here today, because that's what I've lived all my life for, including now. But with respect to PR, I think it's important that I say that everyone else that I've mentioned, that I've spoken about PR, has really said everything about PR and what PR could do and all of those things. But I'll come from a practical perspective. I think I call PR music, right? PR is music. And music must be soothing, it must be good to the ears. And if the music is not good, then it's noise. And in creating a good set of music, you must have a good band. So I call the PR guys the band creating the music. And the band creating the music must understand the business in itself and the focus and the direction in which the business is going. For us at Purple, I think the most fundamental thing that we've seen over the last, I think the COVID period really allowed us 3-6 months to sit back and re-strategize and rethink our strategy holistically. And in doing that, we realized that we were not getting out the message as to what we have done and what we have achieved. And PR essentially was missing in the grand scheme of things that we're putting together and how we're communicating the message out to the public. So it's important that we understand that for us, we went from a situation that allowed us to then bring PR to the forefront and created a new band of mostly young, strong young men and women that understood PR and how to use PR to communicate and get that message out. And you know, for us, every single person that we do business with, or every single person that we work with or relate with, must be an ambassador of POCO. So in getting that message out, ethos and understanding of how we're thinking is important for them to get that message out. So they need to understand how we play. And we've used for us, we've used a strong network across both the socials, the print, as well as
Can we still hear Laide?
The outdoor, to sort of get the message out in terms of our market presence, our successes. I mean,
It's fine. We lost you for a second, but please continue.
Okay. And we've used that, and everyone should obviously use that as corporate entities to get their message out in terms of their positives, their strong points, their successes, and in some cases, drown some of their failures and their weaknesses, right? Because in everything that we do as entrepreneurs, we probably fail more than we actually win. So we need to make sure that the message in terms of those wins actually do get out there in terms of market perception, market positioning, and educating people in itself on what your plans are in terms of growth and values. And we've done quite a bit of that, and we've stressed on that. I think it's important that we also look at it from perspective of interrelationships with government and the community and all of those things.
I don't want you to give it. I don't want you to give it all away, because I'm going to ask you specific questions. So don't give it all away. I need to ask you specific questions. So I just wanted you to just let us have the impact of publishing. Thank you so much for that. I'll come back to you with specific questions where you will tell us about government and the strategies that you've deployed in your organization. So I'll quickly swing over to Adetayo. Just give us a brief, what do you think is the impact of public relations in society and in business?
Sure, absolutely. Thanks so much once again for the opportunity. Nigerian Women in PR organization for. I was a bit surprised when I got the invite, but I guess maybe there's something you see in me that I don't see myself. But anyway, thank you for the amazing opportunity to contribute to this extraordinary conversation. So I guess, I'm definitely not a PR expert, but maybe I can speak to the impact of PR, from our experience as an organization, and then probably, extrapolate from that and look at the general, the importance of PR generally in society. I think especially from the point of view of a young company like ours, because, generally when people talk about PR, I guess sometimes people think of large companies that are trying to manage their reputation. But we've seen that, everybody needs to do PR, even a 2-person organization needs to do it. And what we've seen is, the perception that people ultimately have about us, right? And as they say, perception is reality, shapes and determines, how successful we are and how sustainable we are as an organization. And we have also seen that, we could be doing something incredibly great internally, right? But if people don't know about it, then it doesn't, we don't achieve much. And we've seen this across the board, not just for companies, but even in the public sector. And even with governments, we've seen today that, if the government is doing something extraordinary internally and people within government know about it, but there's not, a good enough job being done to actually carry the people along and communicate to all stakeholders on what really is being done, then it's almost as if nothing is being done. So I'd say that for us, and for me, PR is so critical because it essentially is that thing that allows you to build trust and build credibility with your stakeholders across the board, whether it's government, whether it's the citizens, whether it's the community, whether it's your customers. It's absolutely essential, to build trust and credibility with them and to open all of those communication lines and channels that exist and fully maximize them in carrying them along and, making sure that you are in tune and in touch with what really they are thinking and that you actually take them seriously. Sometimes, they say that sometimes what people just want to do is to make their voices heard. So we've seen that it's extremely critical to open lines of communication with all our key stakeholders, just to make sure that they understand what we are doing and that we also understand what the expectations are of us. And that just makes for a much more effective engagement.
Okay, thank you so much, Adetayo. What jumps out for me is trust, credibility, and to ensure that we have effective communication. All those components will ensure that we have an impactful public relations in business and in society. So I'm coming back to you now, Laide. Laide is the co-founder and CEO of Purple, and Purple creates affordable lifestyle experiences for their customers by investing in superior mixed-use facilities and services. Okay, I have this question for Laide, and the question is, how have you been able to position your brand? The brand that comes to mind now is the Maryland Mall. How have you been able to position your brand using public relations to attract high-value tenants? We do know that when you have those kind of malls, you have the anchor tenants, you have the small tenants who make up the whole, the entire structure of the mall. So how have you been able to use public relations to attract high-value tenants to your business? Please go ahead, Laide. Your mic. You need to unmute yourself, Laide.
All right.
Yes.
I got it. All right. So thank you very much. We came out into the market in the recession of 2016, so it was a bit difficult. And over the last 4 or 5 years, we've actually operated as Maryland Mall. And then we realized that, you know, Maryland Mall as a brand in itself was getting stronger or was stronger than Purple in itself, who was the base, the founding element of the development. So one thing we did was to, first of all, obviously rebrand and get that message out and trade as Purple Maryland in the first place, which implied that we had to also get all of our tenants and partners along, carry them along in actually executing that plan. And I think we've had quite a very good run, and that's obviously taken us into being able to co-brand and continuously brand all of our other elements with the prefix Purple. So you now have Purple Lucky, you have Purple Shop, and all of those things that then work together to create that lifestyle experience that we're trying to create both for our tenants, our users, and all of those things. But most importantly, what we've also realized that we also need to get them. Did you get that?
We lost you for a few seconds. We didn't get the last part of what you said.
Yeah, we realized that, you know, by putting the Purple prefix in front of all of our developments or all of our activities, from Purple Maryland to Purple Lake here, Purple Shop, we also needed to get the message about who we are, what we are, and what we stand for in terms of mixed-use development. And we've been able to push that out. And one thing that has happened is that we've been able to, using data as well, obviously, but using PR as well, we've been able to create and understand the market a lot better. We've been able to, and for us, we've been able to actually identify what the products and what the people actually want and require from us. So rather than just creating, because of all of the information and the data you gather as a result of market intelligence, by stepping up your PR and the level of communication and insight that you get from discussions with your partners and consumers and what they need, you're able to create better products and better opportunities. So take, for example, by the time we are going from Purple Maryland to Purple Lekki, we realized that a lot of our tenants, due to the mistakes and the readjustments that we made, we're able to correct all of those things in Purple Lekki. And as at this point, with all of the PR and all of those things, our existing tenants have been able to come along with us into Purple Lekki, for example. And what has happened as well is that we've obviously been able to take our occupancy level to about some 5%. Now, when we also came out with the brands under our Purple Living, we came out with the Nanos, for example. It was the very first time that studio short stay studio apartments were going to be sold into the marketplace in the Lekki Phase 1 area. A lot of those that were built were actually built and held and rented out in a different type of structure. But in this case, we're building something along the mixed use and we're creating nanos on the short stay. We needed to get that message out. And it was straight after the COVID period. This was around August. And, you know, it was supposed to be the toughest time to actually be able to sell any product. But being that you understood the market and you knew where the market, what the market wanted, what people wanted because of your, all of the activities that you've done in terms of your data research and also in terms of your communication and extraction of information using your PR strategy, we're able to realize that, you know, the nanos were actually a necessary commodity. And, you know, we've been able to sell a similar proportion of that, up to 80% of that, almost 80, 90% of what we actually have in stock. So PR definitely may look costly, but it obviously helps to identify the target, helps you forecast and helps you predict the direction in which your product should go in terms of what sort of pricing, what sort of expectations, what people actually require from you.
Thank you so much, Laide. So I'm swinging straight to Efeturi, who will give us some insight into the internal communication world. Efeturi is the head of marketing and corporate communications at VFD Group, and VFD is a financial advisory organization. Okay, so my question to you now, Efeturi, is, because I know that you deal with a lot of stakeholders, you deal with shareholders, you deal with different groups of stakeholders. So how have you been able to deploy internal communication strategies to keep staff across the group engaged and aware of everything that is happening in the business? Please go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for the question, Chineze. So I think I will just even take one of the things that Adetayo had said, and he literally said that it is important that communication starts internally. There's nothing like having staff of whether it's 2, 5, 50, or 100 that is not aware of what is happening internally, but they go and learn about it externally. That can be a big slap on their face because those people are interacting with several different people, several different directions. So for us, internal communications is a big plus because we see staff as the lifeblood of the organization. One of the things I set out to do upon resumption is to make sure that even that line of communication between executive management and staff is reduced. We know that it does take a while for strategic information or decisions to reach staff, but what we're trying to do is reduce that timing, is to reduce that gap that we have to be able to ensure that these employees or staff become the advocates as well as ambassadors of your organization. So what are we looking to do? Simplifying messaging. Do you understand? So of course, when you are done with a board executive meeting, some of the information there are quite high level. Not everybody will understand it, even if you put it in an email or you put it on any of the internal platforms. But what we try to do is spin it on its head. Yes, we can drop the whole message that we have as is, but we take greater pain and greater emphasis to make that message simple. So how do we do that? We use a lot of infographics. So if you have an email that has spoken about the numbers the organization has made, if you have an email that has gone about, that is speaking about the strategic decisions or some of the strategic initiatives that the organization wants to go into, what we do is make it simpler, using infographics, using videos, because videos I have seen that videos also go a long way when executives are talking, having video recordings that are shared with staff. So we'll use that to make it simpler for staff to understand what exactly or where exactly the organization is going. Now, in addition to that, VFD is a proprietary investment organization, and we are invested in different industries from finance, banking and finance, to currency exchange, to asset management, to real estate, leasing, and hospitality. Now, like I said, staff are your internal ambassadors. some people are quite passionate about the organizations that they work for. So once they hear either a good news or they know of products and services, they are one of the first sets of people to shout to the rooftops that this is what my organization is doing, or this is what my organization has achieved. Now we take it upon ourselves again to be able to inform and educate people on some of the product offerings that we have. What platforms are we looking at? We are looking at emails. We'll use WhatsApp a lot to be able to pass that information quickly because people are constantly on their phone. And we won't neglect the fact that internal portals like your Slack, SharePoint, or the ones created by organizations are also important because that's where the information goes as well. But we're also thinking about disruptive tools. For me, some of those disruptive tools can be quite disruptive and quite aggressive when you're trying to pass information to staff. So you have those pop-ups while they are working, they have pop-ups of information about the organization. They have pop-ups on news that has an achievement the organization has just obtained. So those are the various things that at VFD Group we're trying to instill to be able to bridge that gap between executive management, board members, and staff of the organization.
Okay, thank you, Efeturi. So from its summary is that you ensure that we have simple messaging. Keep it simple.
Yes.
In order to communicate effectively.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for using the right tools to get staff to become aware of what is going on in the organization. Okay, so I'll quickly run to Tayo, Adetayo. Adetayo is the co-founder and CEO of Max.ng. Max.ng is a bike hailing service, and they are the first Nigerian all-electric motorcycle with some of the most technologically advanced features. Okay. He did mention when he was telling us about the impact of public relations that his business was a young business. So my question to Adetayo now is, what specific public relations strategies did you employ to engage regulatory stakeholders? Because I'm sure that you had to get some approvals, you had to deal with different stakeholders in government and thereabouts, regulatory authorities, in order to get maybe the license to operate in the country. So what kind of public relations tools did you employ in order to engage the regulatory stakeholders before you established your brand?
Sure, thank you very much for that question. So we're in the transportation and mobility space at Max.ng. And our mission, of course, is to transform the mobility industry by deploying technology and creating a new platform a new empowering platform for drivers as well. Now, in terms of, what have we done and how have we leveraged PR to engage with regulators, with government, and with the public sector in general. Now, the fundamental thing here is that we operate in the transport sector, which is, of course, regulated and, is occasionally prone to government, policy changes, right? So therefore, it's extremely important, for any company that's trying to, become big in that space, to proactively manage their engagement with government. So in our own case, we leverage a couple of tools. Number one is this, we studied our stakeholder, right? And try to understand how they think, what drives their decision making. And when you do that, because in our case, the way we approach every problem is to first understand what really is involved and what the expectations are. And in this case, when you look at the public sector and you look at governments, what are the key things that drive their decision making? Number one, of course, or one of those things is security, right? The government always wants to ensure that there's security and safety of lives and property. It's always paramount to them. The second thing that government is always, the government always is interested in is empowerment, right? So anything that has to do with empowerment for the people or job creation or things like that is always, very, very important to them. The second thing also is the fact that the government likes to, know that they're dealing with experts or with respected authority in a field. Now that doesn't mean, you want to position yourself as a be all, know all, or have some kind of supremacist tendency. But at the same time, they want to, the government wants to know if they're talking to, people in an industry, the government typically doesn't have time to talk to everybody, right? But the few people they engage with, they want to be sure that those people are the thought leaders or the people who are really driving the future of that industry. So based off of these three things and a bunch of other things and analysis that we did, we decided to come up with a strategy and execute a strategy that would appeal to all of these three things. So number one is building the reputation as a thought leader. So we created, opinion pieces. We even went as far as developing policies for the industry and then distributing those policies, through several different media channels. And that essentially serves to establish us as a thought leader. And not only as a thought leader, but also as a company that understands that ultimately it isn't just about building a profitable business and making money. It's also about improving and enhancing the policy environment, right? And by doing those things, we were able to gradually establish our reputation as not just a company, but also a company interested in nation building. And that earned us, a lot of points with quite a bunch of state governments in the country that we've eventually successfully had engagements with. So thought leadership is important. The next thing is about empowerment, right? Establishing ourselves also as a company that generally cares about people and about solving the real social problems that we all face, right? And for us, the way we expressed that wasn't even just about job creation. It was also about things like climate change, right? In the transport sector, as we know, it's one of the biggest contributors to greenhouse gas emissions. And so we took that opportunity to say, okay, how can we, project ourselves as a responsible corporate citizen by also helping to address some of the big challenges we face. One of it is climate change and sustainability. So by investing in not just in electric mobility, but also building thought leadership in that area and saying, how do we as a country begin to shift gradually away from combustion engines to electric powered mobility, and then having those discussions in the open and also experiencing our opinions, through social media, through print media, through press conferences and so on. That also helped to build our credibility as, not just an innovative company, but also, but more importantly, an innovative company that was solving real social problems. That was extremely important. So, building thought leadership, right? Putting out there and communicating the social impact implications of the work that we're doing, and also the climate impact implications of the work that we're doing. All of this then served to establish our credibility as a company and made it much easier for us to have productive engagements, with the public sector and with government authorities. And last but not least, of course, is on the area of security as well. In fact, we went as far as to build systems that would further enhance and improve the safety and security of commuters and of drivers in the transport space. And of course, we leverage all the channels available to us to talk about this, to have engagements, with a diverse range of stakeholders about this, to also publish reports about this. And of course, when the government, engages and hears about these things, then they know that they are dealing with, serious-minded people who not only are trying to build a business, but also are trying to actively leverage their company and their platform to solve real social problems. And that has won us a lot of points and made it much, much easier for us to have productive engagements with regulators and with government.
Well done, Adetayo. What I hear is that you, first of all, had to identify your stakeholders, their psychographics, how do they think, what's their perception of what you're bringing on board? And then, of course, you had to bring in the human side to show them that they're going to add value to the state and to the country in general. And of course, you had to use PR to build thought leadership and ensure that the company is seen as expert.
Foundation, your sort of Swedish
as experts in their field. So thank you so much. That's a very fantastic and strategic use of public relations. So the last but not the least is Martha. Martha works in Media Craft. And of course, Media Craft is a full service public relations consultancy firm. Okay, my question to Martha now is, Martha, please bring it home. Can you share an instance where PR strategy saved the day for your client? Can I please ask that you maybe use an example, because we have the financial sector here, we have the real estate, we have the tech, okay? And then we have, so please, and then we have, of course, internal comms. we would like you to maybe use an example of an FMCG. You don't have to tell us names. We don't even want to know the name of the company, but please let us have an instance or two where PR strategies save the day for your clients. Over to you, Martha.
Okay, thank you, Chineze. An instance where PR saved the day for our clients. Okay, so this example that comes to mind now is an FMCG. But okay, so during the COVID pandemic, I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
Okay, during the COVID pandemic, we had so that these clients of ours had a critical component of some of their products which they could not access. So this client works in the agricultural space, so which they could not access because a lot of farmers were, because of the lockdown, a lot of farmers were not going to farms, and so even the security situation in the country was not allowing people to go to farms. So they couldn't access that particular ingredient for their product. So they resorted to importing it. So while they were importing, the government now came up with this policy to ban the importation of that particular ingredient so they could not produce, and this was affecting the value chain totally. It was affecting the consumers, it was affecting their own consumers, it was affecting the nation as a whole. So what we did was to get we did articles on that, engage stakeholders, experts in that field to do articles on that. And we also generated, so this also generated a lot of conversations about the issue. And there was a lot of stakeholders engagement with other providers in the value chain. And with all the engaging them and bringing out, amplifying their communications and their conversations, that pushed the government to change that policy and lift the ban on the importation of that product. So that's one example. Another example I would want to cite was like investors' relationship. So we had a client that was acquiring another business, that was acquiring a competition. And the other investors felt that they are FMCG companies. So the investors felt that acquiring this other company was going to affect dividends and was going to affect the financial health of the business. So to allay the fears of these investors, of the shareholders, we engaged the shareholders creatively. We got them to meetings. We got even experts in the industry, experts in the investment space to do articles to explain why the acquisition of this business was not going to affect the bottom line of the business. Rather, it was going to make it expand. After engaging them, and the shareholders passed the bill for that acquisition. Interestingly, at the half year, when the company was doing its first half year report, it had a slight loss in its report, in its financial report. But interestingly, these shareholders did not see anything wrong because their confidence had been won already. They didn't see anything wrong because that period, Nigeria was at the verge of going into a recession, and a lot of businesses were quoting loss too. So the shareholders did not make any fuss about the fact that the business, they didn't tie the loss to the fact that the business acquired the competition business. So it's a way, so these are examples how businesses have been able to deploy PR to save the day for them from our own experience at MediaCraft.
Okay, thank you, Martha. It clearly shows that stakeholder engagement is very, very important. Influencer communication is also very important in order to sway opinion. And then eventually, from the first example you gave, you were able to sway, they were able to change the policy, which of course had to be to the benefit of your client. Okay, well done, Martha, thank you. I'm going to go quickly back to Efeturi. And my question now is, we have board members, we have investors, business owners, people that run the business. Can you share maybe some insight into board level communication? Is there a particular way we communicate to the board? Because we might not know. I am not on the board, so I don't have an idea. But is there, for the benefit of our audience, share some insight into board level communication management, and is there a way public relations supports that board level communication?
Okay, thanks again, Chineze. So as it relates to communication to the board, it all depends on the people that literally make up your board committee or your board executives. Some of those people require high level information. So in engaging them, it won't be simplified messaging, because if I'm a board member, I have been, placed in that position to be able to share advice or experience I have from my own personal background with a new organization. So some communication as it relates to board members is definitely high level, and it's definitely reporting. So the feedback, one of the feedback that Modupe had definitely given was learn how to report, especially on your successes or on your achievements. So what board members are typically looking at is, if you said you were going to do XYZ, what did you achieve after doing XYZ? And that communication is still using the available platforms that you have. It can be your emails, and when you are sending that email, it does have to be detailed enough to tick the boxes in terms of what board members would like to see. How has that initiative added to the growth of the organization? How has it ticked up on the objectives and its goals? And then what are the successes? Sometimes, and again, like I said, depending on the organization, some board members, those are the things that they would typically like to see. Now, if you drill it down to how staff, how knowledge about the organization is seeping to staff, how are we engaging staff, again, is based on a high level conversation with them. Some board members are definitely interested in staff well-being, which might be HR, but internal communications will be one of the things that will use to drive that communication. So high level, again, you said you're going to do this. Have you done it? What did you achieve? What were the successes? And did it tick off on the objectives in terms of trying to ensure that people are informed and educated about the products and services of the organization? So it's quite high level, and it's the typical emails, it's presentations, because you have to be able to show them even in graph and figures. And some board members work on figures. It's not simplified messaging at all. It's extensive, high level messaging that will be able to, any person seeing that information for the first time will be able to know, okay, this is what they said they will do, and this is what they achieved, and this is how it helps the organization in the long run.
Okay, yes, high level communication. I would like to deal with figures, especially if the figures turn to Naira or dollars eventually. Okay, well done. We have 4 minutes or thereabout to round up this session, but I have a question for Laide. It's been on my mind. So Laide, I realized that, okay, last 2020 was a very unique year. And then of course, we had the pandemic, then we had the NSAS protest. But somehow, I don't think Maryland Mall was affected, or any of your facilities was affected. So is there anything you did in particular to avoid that? Okay, this is bringing this NSAS to the fore again, because we can't forget what happened. But is there anything the organization did in particular, okay? Or were you ready? Were you ready with any kind of plan in case something happened? We would like to know in like 1 minute, if you're able to do that in 1 minute.
All right, thank you. I think beyond the NSAS, if you go back to the xenophobic attacks in South Africa, we know that within 24 hours, 48 hours of that, there's potential reprisal attacks in Lagos. We have not also been attacked in any way or form during any of these times. Not that we've not there has been an attempt, but all attempts have been revoked. Why? One, we focus significantly on security relationships. A security relationship goes from the private sector security relationship all the way to the government-led security relationships. And that cuts across the police and that cuts across the military. That also cuts across the community in itself that benefits and works, and those that work within the place within the building. So we try to, over time, ensure that all of this set of people that form the nucleus of our security arrangement, we've communicated with them, we've spoken with them all beforehand, continuously and repeatedly, and we've told them the challenges that could potentially happen out of such situations. So that communication, that direct communication approach has been established for quite a long time, and we have always maintained that approach. And that's why perhaps you have not seen any particular attack or damage on us. And of course, everything is God's control, right?
Well, yeah, that's true. Because I mean, we take all the precautions, and then of course we leave the rest to God, like we always say. Okay, thank you, Laide. And Adetayo, sometime last year there was a policy which, of course, would have affected your business. So post-policy redirection, I'm sure that maybe made your organization to seek some kind of redirection, to re-strategize. So is there a way public relations has helped you in how you reposition marks.ng? And how have you continued to manage post the policy that the government put out last year? Is Adetayo still here? Can't see him. I think he dropped off. So I'll quickly.
Hi.
Is he there? Can you see him? No? Oh, okay. I think we lost him. So let's have some last word from each of the panelists. Unfortunately, one person has dropped off. Adetayo. Okay, so can we have a last word? Martha, are you still there? Martha?
Yes, Martha is still here.
Okay, Martha is still here. Martha, any last word for us?
Okay, for me, PR is PR is a critical part of every business and every community, every society. So while we think that we can, why small businesses will think that they should, PR is one big thing for big businesses, they don't need it. They should rethink whether they are a two-man business, like Motola said, or they are a 50-man or 1,000 people business. They need PR in their businesses. They need PR to deliver on their set objectives. They need PR to affect the bottom line. And for communities and societies, PR is that tool that they need to engage the citizenry. PR is that tool that they need to push their agenda, the government agenda, to achieve the goals of the society, to build a prosperous society, to develop the society beyond where they find themselves, to drive growth. PR is that tool that they need to drive it. And I want to thank Nigerian Women in PR for this opportunity. I think this is something we should continue. This is something we should do more of. Beyond Women's Day, beyond Women's Month, we should create opportunities like this so that we bring in experts to come and discuss relevant issues on this platform. Thank you.
Thank you, Martha. Last word from Efeturi, please.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so thank you again. I think for me, and I'll still stick to the internal communications bit. So employees definitely need information. They need clear guidance and information to be able to function in their roles. So I have become an advocate for internal communication, as it helps both organization in carving the perception that they have out there. So I will definitely be pushing any organization out there to ensure that there's clear guidance and information on the job to be able to help them move the organization forward. Thank you.
Okay, Laide, last words.
All right. Yes, I think on a PR perspective, for me, I would say every organization should obviously take PR very seriously and create a strong PR band that will ensure the right messages and the right communication are delivered to all the stakeholders, from shareholders, directors, all the way down to your product users and customers. And it's important that that visibility, when delivered, should also be reflected in the sort of data-driven product that you actually put out there, because there's no point making delivering all that music through PR and not actually delivering the kind of product that they actually also yearn for.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so public relations, we've heard it from the experts, we've heard it from the different sectors. We have to imbibe public relations in our day-to-day life. And from one of our speakers, what something came out, and she said that you don't have to be a big business in order to use public relations to support your business. It can be a one-man business, it can be a two-man business, but the truth is you have to use public relations to leverage your organization, to build trust, to build credibility, and of course, to bridge that gap between your organization and the public, and to a large extent, the society at large. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, our panelists, Efeturi, Laide, Martha, and then of course, Adetayo, who dropped off at some point. I'm going to hand over to Kemi. Sorry, we took 4 minutes extra, but now we're done. So, thank you, Kemi.
All right, then. Thank you very much for that. I mean, I learned so much. My notes are full, and we know everything that I wrote down during the panel discussion. As always, please drop your nudges from this session in the chat box. We want to hear from you. Don't forget, you can also tweet, and please tweet at Nigerian Women in PR. Use the hashtag experiencing PR. I'd like to thank our partners for today's event.
Kemi, 1 second. I don't know if that we would have taken one question.
Yes, I think someone mentioned. I'm not sure if we have time.
I don't know.
But I think that the Nigerian Women in PR team mentioned that the questions should be sent to them, and then responses will be sent to.
Oh, perfect.
Yes,
perfect.
And then. And please, can the panelists also help to possibly respond to a few questions in the chat box? I can see that Efeturi is doing just that.
Yes. Okay, so please, Laide, you can slide into the chat box. Maybe if there's any question for you there. Martha, same thing as well. Sorry, Kemi.
All right, then. Thank you very much. We would like to thank our partners for today's event: TVC Communications, CTFM, The Cable, The Nation, PR Hub. Thank you very much for partnering and for believing in the vision of the Nigerian Women in PR. Thank you for committing to be a part of today's event. We really, really do appreciate it. Now to the reason for this gathering, the launch of Nigeria's first compilation of true articles from Nigerian women practicing public relations across different countries, the Experiencing PR ebook. Now, the Experiencing PR ebook will be available to download for free after this event, but I must definitely mention the hard work that went into this. It's going to be available for free, but it is not just another PR book. Lots of hard work went into this, from the contributors to Nigerian Women in PR team, lots of sleepless nights, hard work, went into making this book available to PR professionals across the world for free. Now, at this point, I would like to celebrate each woman who contributed to this book. An excerpt from the book was read earlier by Oluwatomi, and you can already tell that the book is an enjoyable and insightful one. 12 women contributed to this book, and they are, I'm going to just read out their names. I think we have a video coming up very shortly. We have Victoria Nwadoka, we have Ibukun Falokpe, we have Adaoha Njem Manze, we have Laide Agboola, we have Mabel Aladesimi Adetayo, Adebola Olomo, Temi Ophelia Ibekwe, Runke Lawal, Satira Osamudiame, Adedoyin Jayesimi, Aderayo Bankole, Oluwayemisi Adekunle. Thank you so much to you ladies for contributing to this book and for making today's event possible. I mean, if you did not contribute to the book, we would not even have an event such as this today. I'm going to hand over now to the admin to please play the video for the contributors as well as the video for the book launch. We can see the beautiful faces of the women who contributed to the success of the Experiencing PR ebook. Thank you so much once again, ladies. We are deeply grateful to you. The Nigerian Women in PR appreciates you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. 12 women contributed to this. And I mean, I was speaking with Tolu before the event and she had shared with me that many more women are actually ready to contribute to a second edition of the book, just to show how enthusiastic and passionate women in PR are about spreading the word of public relations, in our society and in the world. Thank you very much. All right, thank you. Please, can we have the video for the book launch on the screen? While that is coming up, please permit me to bring on stage our keynote speaker and chief launcher, Motola Oyebanjo, to launch the Experiencing PR ebook. Motola, please, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me and can you see me this time around?
Yes, I can see you this time around.
Excellent.
Please go ahead.
Yes. Okay, so again, I just want to say a big thank you to the Nigerian Women in Public Relations for this event and for this book launch. I have to say that I was really excited when I heard that this book was being pulled together because knowing Tolu Lope, I knew that it would be definitely a quality book and it will be a really interesting one to read. And I got the opportunity to, have a cursory look through, and I'll mention 5 things that I thought are really interesting about the book. First off is the initiative in itself. I think this is the very first one of its kind in Nigeria. I'm not sure that there's any other book highlighting the value and the impact of Nigerian women in public relations. So that in itself, it's something worth commending. And I want to say well done to the team for that. And it should definitely be continued. Kemi, I was really happy to hear you say that many more women are already waiting to be a part of the next edition. And that's really good. The second thing is the range of professionals that are in the book, from ladies who have 20 years of experience to ladies who are just finishing university. There is that really broad range. So it brings quite a lot of expertise and a lot of interesting views into the book, which I'm sure will ensure that it will be an interesting read. The third is the quality of content. I've only had the chance to read Victoria Nwadoka's write-up, part of it so far, which is the first write-up. Victoria is in herself an amazing PR professional. We have followed each other quite closely over the years, and I'm excited to see her in the book. I can't wait to read all of it and all of the other content on it. For me, the fourth thing is the spread of topics, and the relevance of those topics. I'll read some of them out. What is PR, how to nurture your career, PR in the digital age, government communications, how to get a seat at the table. All of those things are really, really useful topics that not just women and men in public relations will find very relevant and useful. And finally, yes, I mentioned that the relevance of the topics for the modern day public relations professional. So it is really my pleasure to be here on behalf of Nigerian Women in Public Relations and everyone who is a well-wisher to celebrate the launch of this book and to wish it all of the success that it deserves. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. I'm positive that the link to download the book will be available either in the chat box before the end of today's event or on the different social media pages. So please follow Nigerian Women in PR across all social media platforms to ensure that you're able to download the ebook. And don't forget to share the download link with a PR professional in your network. At this time, I would like to thank the Nigerian Women in PR volunteers for their hard work and dedication. The process of selecting volunteers for Nigerian Women in PR is usually a very thorough and rigorous one. I would like to take this opportunity to really thank them for their work and everything that they have done to ensure that the Nigerian Women in PR continues to run successfully. I was wondering if the admin can please play the video for the volunteers. Okay. Okay, you can see them on your screens. Thank you very much, ladies, for contributing to different areas of Nigerian Women in PR. We can imagine the amount of work and what it takes to put together, not just this event, but several initiatives by the Nigerian Women in PR. If you're very conversant with the activities, you'll be aware that, there's content shared almost every day across all the social media platforms. There has been several initiatives from the Student Ambassadorship Program to the PR, I think PR in 30 seconds, and so many other interesting initiatives. Thank you very much. Now, as we may all know, the month of March is celebrated globally as International Women's Month, and Monday, March 8th, in exactly 2 days, is recognized as International Women's Day. The Nigerian Women in PR would like to celebrate all female PR professionals across Nigeria. We celebrate you, we appreciate your efforts, we commend you, we love you. Happy International Women's Day. At this point, we'd like to have the video for International Women's Day. Okay, do we have the video, please? Okay, so I believe that this is the video for the book. And then I guess right after we'll have the video for International Women's Day. Thank you. 12 contributors. Yes, yes, yes. Wow, wow. Congratulations. Well done to the team. The link to download has been shared in the chat box. Please click the link to download the book. Share with a PR professional in your network. Please share the download link and not the book. Please share the download link and not the book. If you remember clearly, Motola had mentioned the importance of measuring results. And one of the things the Nigerian Women in PR team needs to do is to be able to track the number of people that downloaded the book, but they will be unable to do that if you share the actual book itself with people as opposed to sharing the download link. So please help us support one another by sharing the download link and not the book. Thank you very much. I don't know if the admin would still like to play the International Women's Day video. If not, we would like to move on as we gradually close today's event. Okay, so I'm going to... Okay, so I'm going to wait for a minute. Admin, please, do we have the International Women's Day video? If not, we would like to speak about a colleague in the profession. At this time, we would like to, the Experiencing PR book was actually dedicated to the memory of one of us, a fellow PR professional who passed on in January 2021, Emilia Asim Ita. She was a consummate public relations professional, a leading development communications expert, and a staunch supporter of the Nigerian Women in PR vision. Please, we would like to have 1 minute silence starting from now. May her gentle soul rest in perfect peace. Finally, for today's event, I'd just like to share a few announcements with you before we wrap up. I'm going to call Tolu in 2 minutes to come and give us the vote of thanks. If you'd like to be a member of the Nigerian Women in Public Relations, information about that will be dropped by the admin team in the chat box. So please look out for that so that you can be a part of the Nigerian Women in Public Relations. The Nigerian Women in Public Relations is a non-for-profit organization, which means that the organization does not make any profit from this. So if you love to support, collaborate, donate, partner, sponsor any of the Nigerian Women in PR initiatives, please reach out to the team. You can send a private message to the Nigerian Women in PR Zoom account right now, and email addresses rather would also be shared in the chat box to enable you to reach out to them. There are lots of activities coming up. Some of the future plans for the Nigerian Women in PR includes a white paper to be launched in 2022, the Journalist versus PR Pros as a recommendation to the government in 2023, and a national communications policy for Nigeria in 2024. So much to be done, so much to be done. So if you'd love to be a member, please don't forget to look out for information about that in the chat box. At this time, I would like to invite the founder of the Nigerian Women in Public Relations and the convener of this event, Tolu Olorundero, to give us the vote of thanks.
Hi, Kemi. Thank you so much. First of all, let me just say I'm relieved that this event has come and gone. At this time, it's gone already because it was supposed to end at 1 p.m. But I still really would love us to play the video for the International Women's Day. But now, let's play.
Woman, I shine bright like the diamond, rare like ruby, topaz or chrysolite, reminiscent of the gems in the Garden of Eden. I'm a woman, I stand tall like Queen Edith, Moremia Jasoro, Laide Agboola, Margaret Echo, and even from Elia Ransom Kuti. I'm a woman, I break barriers like Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. I climb the zenith of the world trade like Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. I speak out, I teach girls the way of the Lord like lead Pastor Bimbo Dukoya. I champion the cause of women like Chimamanda. I care for others like my mother Aduke. I climb the pedestal and make other women go farther. I try to sing on key, despiners, and even see I chart new territories like the first female urologist. I explore the media space like Oprah Winfrey. I'm a PR woman like Motola Oyebanjo, Adetayo, Kate Chambers, and even Tolulope Olorundero. I fight against corruption like Dora Akunyili. I'm a queen of the tracks like Marion Yali. I'm a woman. I'm not a misogynist. Happy International Women's Day.
Well done, team. Well done. Happy International Women's Day once again. Tolu, over to you.
I really want to take that video and to use it to appreciate every woman who has come on this. Of course, to our men who are ever supportive. I'm very careful every time people ask me, but there's Nigerian women in PR. Is there Nigerian men in PR? No.
We are starting it today.
The essence of this. Oh, Jude Benson, thank you so much. Jude Benson is my Oga from the highest. Was my very first boss. After I left NYS, I want to say thank you to everybody who has joined this event today. I mean, you don't know how happy you have made me. Thank you so much. I hope that you got sufficient value for your time spent on this call. But again, I want to say a special thank you to every public relations woman out there, whether you're on this call or not. For everyone who is represented here, you are standing in the gap for every public relations woman across the world. And as I said before, the organization that we set up is not to create a division amongst professionals in the field, but we must all agree and realize that many PR women who start out in public relations as entry-level staff, by the time they get to senior level or C-suite positions, many women are nowhere to be found, and you suddenly have men overrunning the conference room and our boardrooms. The reason we established Nigerian Women in PR is to ensure that the barriers and the challenges that women face, especially when they get to middle-level management, we provide information, we empower them to help them take those barriers away so that they can progress in their careers and get to the board level positions as well. I want to say again, thank you so much to everybody who has joined the call. Please download the book. As we said, this is a not-for-profit initiative. We're not making any profit from it, but to encourage the contributors who have written in their articles. I mean, we've been on this project since September 2020. Right? So please encourage all of us, including the Nigerian Women in PR team, by downloading the book only via the link provided. Because it is complimentary, you don't need to share the actual book. One of the things that is important to us as in public relations is measurement. The only way we can measure the impact of this event is in the number of downloads we can track at the back end. So instead of downloading and sharing the book with all your friends or all your classmates in school or all your colleagues in the office, just provide the link to them. That's when we measure the impact of the work that we have done. Okay, I also want to use this opportunity to say thank you in absentia to the Chairman Lagos State Chapter of the NIPR and the entire Nigerian Institute of Public Relations as a whole. I mean, I've been a very, very strong advocate of all public relations practitioners who are working in Nigeria to make sure that they are members of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, because that's the only licensing body that permits you to work as a public relations person in Nigeria. So if you're on this call, you're a PR person and you're not a member of NIPR, we encourage you to do that. Nigerian Women in Public Relations is not a governing body and it is not a replacement for NIPR. Please make sure you register as a member of NIPR. Nigerian Women in Public Relations is not only for PR professionals practicing in Nigeria, but any PR woman who is Nigerian and practicing across the world. That's why Motola can join us from Dubai. That's why Ronke Lawal can write in from the UK. That's why Ibukun Falope can write in from the UK as well. We also had Adebola Olomo writing in from Ireland. All of these women are Nigerians, but they are practicing in different countries of the world. That's what this independent social impact organization is about. Celebrating women, inspiring them, empowering them, and providing support to help them achieve their personal career goals and objectives. Please visit our website for information on how to become members. Today we opened the membership platform for people who want to join the community. We have several initiatives, like Kemi has mentioned. We have a white paper plan for 2022. We have a conference that is going to focus on journalists versus PR people as image makers for the government in 2023, ahead of the election period. And then in 2024, we plan to develop and present a national communications policy for Nigeria. Nigerian Women in PR is for social impact. It's not anything for self-aggrandizement. We want to make sure that public relations takes its rightful place in the work it should be doing for nation building and perception shaping. If you'd like to partner with us in any of this initiative, I mean, as you can hear, they sound like very big projects. I've thought about it. I don't know how I'm going to start doing it, but these are projects that are very big. We don't mind if other people even start doing it ahead of us. Bottom line, everybody in nations across the world must see and acknowledge the impact of public relations and the work that we do. That's our desire. If we see that happening, we are very happy to support anybody who does that. If you'd like to support us too, please visit our website. We have our donation links there for our programs. We have opportunities for you to partner or sponsor our programs, and we'll be very happy to welcome you. Thank you again for joining. I can go and sleep now. Thank you very much. Have a very good week, everybody.
Congratulations, Tolu, and to the entire Nigerian Women in PR team.
Thank you.
Have a lovely afternoon, everybody. Bye-bye.
Yes. Bye. Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye.
I'm a woman, a sham bride like the diamond, rare like ruby, topaz or chrysolite, reminiscent of the gems in the Garden of Eden. I'm a woman, I stand tall like Queen Idia, Morimia Jasuru, Laide Agboola, Margaret Echo, and even from Liar Ransom Kuti. I'm a woman, I break barriers like Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. I climb the zenith of the world trade like Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. I speak up like Malala Yousafzai. I teach women and girls the way of the Lord like late Pastor Bimbo Dukoya. I champion the cause of women like Chimamanda. I care for others like my mother, Aduke. I climb the pedestal and make other women go farther. I try to sing on key like Cissy Winers and even sing. I chart new territories like the first female urologist. I explore the media space like Oprah Winfrey. I'm a PR woman like Motola Oyebanjo, Adetayo, Kate Chambers, and even Tolulokpo Olorundero. I fight against corruption like Dora Akunyili. I'm a queen of the tracks like Marion Yali. I'm a woman. I'm not a misogynist. Happy International Women's Day. Woman, a sham bride like the diamond, rare like ruby, topaz or chrysolite, reminiscent of the gems in the Garden of Eden. I'm a woman, I stand tall like Queen Idia, Morimia Jasuru, Laide Agboola, Margaret Echo, and even from Liar Ransom Kuti. I'm a woman, I break barriers like Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. Climb the zenith of the world trade like Ngozi. I teach women and girls the way of the Lord like late Pastor Bimbo Dukoya. I champion the cause of women like Chimamanda. I care for others like my mother, Aduke. I climb the pedestal and make other women go farther. I try to sing on key like Cissy Winers and even Sinach. I chart new territories like the first female urologist. I explore the media space like Oprah Winfrey. I'm a PR woman like Motola Oyebanjo, Adetayo, Kate Chambers, and even Tolulokpo Olorundero. I fight against corruption like Dora Akunyili. I'm a queen of the tracks like Marion Yali. I'm a woman. I'm not a misogynist. Happy International Women's Day.